The Colts added a couple of defensive players as well. Charvarius Ward, another 49ers player who left. And we mentioned Camryn Bynum earlier from the standpoint of he's the guy that was the life of the party, and maybe Jameis Winston fills that void in Minnesota. But all the creative celebrations, fun guy, big smile, but more than the Vikings were willing to pay for Bynum, 4-year, $60 million contract for a safety. That's a lot of money for a safety. And the Vikings, although they kept Byron Murphy, they decided to move on from Camryn Bynum and not pay the kind of money that the Colts were able and willing to put on the table.
Well, yes, you're right. I think that's a premium position for the Colts and Lou Anarumo and his defense. We saw in Cincinnati when safeties left town, right, things changed. They weren't the same there. That was an issue. I think that was what you point at the downfall of Cincinnati and Lou Anarumo on the defensive side of the ball was some of his veteran safeties. They try to plug and play young guys in there in the secondary in general, and it didn't work. And that defense they're going to run with the Colts and Lou Anarumo now, they do a lot. They do a lot. They're one of those teams that we talk about a lot, Mike. They're saying, hey, we're in one formation. We're playing this defense. They motion over here. We try to play a totally different defense. We don't just go, hey, like he's motioning over, watch out. It's like we change everything. So I think they put value in a guy that can understand, orchestrate, quarterback the defense. He was from Minnesota. Brian Flores does a lot of that stuff, so he's obviously smart, and then he's got talent. The Colts needed to improve the secondary in general. They've been playing that Seattle scheme. Now they're going to have to be more versatile. Charvarius Ward, after kind of a down year and family issues and things like that with the San Francisco 49ers, he's still a damn good football player. He can play man-to-man on the outside. He can still run. He's got good size. So from all that, yeah, I like what the Colts did in the secondary. They needed that. They needed that bump up in talent, and I think they're guys that are smart football players that'll be able to run Lou Anarumo's D.
And this dovetails with what we talked about an hour and a half ago. This is a Colts team that is not far away from contending. They are not dysfunctional, at least not for the most part.
I don't think so. I mean,
They have they went from being perennial high-end contender to perennial, they're kind of there.
Yeah, they're close.
And sometimes it falls right and sometimes it doesn't. Like post-Andrew Luck, they've just been right in that cut, just on the line of making it to the playoffs. And more often than not, they haven't. But they're still dealing with, like, Andrew Luck. I can't imagine that there aren't people in the organization thinking Andrew Luck should still be the quarterback. He was drafted in 2012. He should still be on the field getting it done, although we're getting to the point where most of the other guys who came into the NFL in 2012 at the quarterback position are cycling out, but Kirk Cousins is still going, and Russell Wilson is still going, and Andrew Luck, from the perspective of a member of the Colts organization, damn, we should still have him. So they're in this weird stage, but they're trying to compete and contend, and they're making the moves necessary to try to close the gap with the Texans. You know, it's all about closing gaps in the AFC. The Bills and Ravens trying to close the gap with the Chiefs. The Texans trying to close the gap with the other three. The Colts trying to close the gap with the Texans. And that's good because you're not trying to get better, you're getting worse. And at least the Colts are trying to get better.
They are. They're trying to get better. There's a lot to like. There is. And, yeah, that quarterback issue was huge. And it did. It set them back. And then they took a shot with Anthony Richardson, who, let's not forget, a lot of people in football liked. So they tried to make that work. All right, it hasn't been perfect yet. The team is not that far off, right? They're a team that I've looked at just, hey, another blue chip player or two on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, it's very close. I'm a huge fan of Shane Steichen. Just think Shane Steichen, what they do on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, again, they were the 13th ranked offense in football last year with a quarterback that couldn't throw for 50%. That's how good you are. When you go, wait, less than half the time, we're not going to gain a yard when we drop back to throw, but we're still going to score points and move the ball better than like 20 other teams in football. I mean, if that doesn't set it all, I don't know what does. Shane Steichen's really good, and they're dangerous. They are. But, yeah, are they like look at them as a roster where you go, ooh, they're of the elite? No, maybe not, but they're closing the gap, like you said, to where you start to go, oh, they could be a pain in the butt, and I could certainly see playoffs being in their future.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.